We can do a little Q&A, even though that's way off the script and we weren't supposed to. How's that?
What projector were you using?
Excuse me?
What projector was that?
That's the 4K Sony projector. That's actually the only 4K projector out in the world. So what you saw was 4096 by 2160 playing off the Cubis at 4K at the minimum compression level. The Cubis 4K player. Yeah.
Hi. How important is it to pre-order the camera to get one to our lab?
That's a good question.
How important is it?
We put my sales and marketing hat on.
What I'm saying here is that have you looked into the volumes of speeding up the delivery after the pre-order?
It's an excellent question. What I can say now, and please don't be offended by this, is that we are very narrow focused right now on building a camera and delivering these images. What you saw is a fairly massive undertaking that requires a lot of work. At some point in the very near future, we're going to actually deal with all those other sort of logistical issues. What we're doing right now, just so everybody knows, for those of you that don't know, is since NAB, when we launched, we've been taking reservations for the camera. You put $1,000 down. It's completely refundable at any time. If you get nervous for any reason, you just call us up and you say, I'm out, I want my money back. No problem. So far that really hasn't happened. I think maybe once or twice. We have, as of this morning, 455, I believe, or 456 camera reservations. We have in a significant amount of the 300mm prime lenses. I'm not sure what the exact number is, but it's fairly significant. So, not trying to be the carnival barker salesman here, but if you guys want one of these cameras, the best way to do this is to go to the Red Tent tomorrow and put a reservation down. I know there's probably a few reservation holders in the audience. I know there's one, there's two, there's three. Yeah, we had, the first presentation we had was for reservation holders in the press, so there was a whole big crowd of people that had reservations in. So I'd highly recommend it if you're interested and you like what you saw today, because we anticipate that after the word gets out that these guys actually did it and they built a 4K sensor and the 4K sensor works, and we saw the first 6 shots that they shot out of the lab, and they're going to get better from there. You might want to get one in. So, any other questions?
Which lenses and the technical information of the shots?
Which lenses? So it's a mix. We shot with Zeiss primes, we shot with Cook primes, and we shot with our 300mm long throw prime. And I actually am not sure which shot is which.
How do you get the data out of the camera?
Currently, or when it's shipping now? Shipping as a product?
Yeah, as a product?
Yeah. So,
repeat the question.
He asked, how do you get the data out of the camera? Hey, Mike, go ahead. The design and concept of the camera is to use this digital magazine, which is a hard drive or a series of hard drives. There's also an onboard flash module that will hold either 32 gig or 64 gig of flash memory. And you're able to record that using Redcode, which is a advanced wavelet compression technology that's in development right now. So if you shot the raw, which you can, you take the uncompressed out to a port and a big stack of drives, that's going to be at least 300 megabytes a second. Not megabits, megabytes, the big ones. At 24 frames, if you were shooting 4K 60 frames a second, which you can do with this camera, you're over 900 megabytes a second. So we had to find a solution for that. So we're working on this compression algorithm that will take that down about 10 to 1. So your 330 or so megabytes a second will go down to 27 or 28 megabytes a second. That can be recorded on a single magazine, a drive magazine that mounts on camera on this rail system or directly on the back of the camera. Okay.
I want to ask why there is only close shot and in the demos.
Good question.
No wide shot.
Right. So it's literally just the timing of what we had to do and the undertaking of the procedure of getting these 4K images. This very first 4K images, when our sensor just came to life a couple weeks before, we were only able to set up so much, only able to do so much. We're gonna continue to shoot right when we all get back from IBC. We're a fairly small group of people in our little project, so you're looking at, some of them are actually in the audience today working and helping out at the booth. When we get back from IBC, we're going to continue to shoot, and we'll shoot some exteriors, we'll shoot some long lens stuff, we'll shoot some big wide shots, and then we'll have continued demonstrations as we get closer to shipping. So it was just a matter of, this is what we could do, and get ready, and get color graded, and get it on the 4K projector to show to you today. So we actually think we did a pretty admirable job. Now this is what I was talking about when I talked about the modularity. So this is red rail. And red rail is a system of rods and grips and the digital media and the battery mount that provides complete flexibility for shoulder shooting. You've got all kinds of mounting points on the rail and an adjustable balance where the system actually pulls in and expands depending on what lenses and the digital magazine and the type of battery weight that you have. And I'll show you some examples of that in a second. This is the evolution of red cage. So for the folks that came to NAB and you saw red cage in its first iteration, it's evolved quite a bit, designed to be more streamlined now, focused on holding that new camera body that's more streamlined as well. This is how you mount for tripod, for crane, for studio pedestal, while providing the maximum amount of mounting points to bolt on almost any accessory that you can imagine. So our idea and our concept here is to lose the gaffer tape, to lose the Velcro, to lose all these, ways that you gotta mount all that stuff when you're shooting digital cinema or film style shooting, and mount it properly with mounting points at almost any given area of where you might want to have something to use or look at. So that's the concept there. That's red cage. Now, you want to go for maximum flexibility and mobility. You strip the Red One camera down to just the camera and the viewfinder. And yes, there is a viewfinder. I know a lot of people were asking at NAB, you guys are going to have a viewfinder, right? How are we going to shoot a camera without a viewfinder? There's a viewfinder. It's completely focus worthy. It's very high resolution electronic viewfinder. That's your first look at it. It's going to change a lot and evolve in the industrial design before we're done, but that's where it sits today. So conceptually here in lightweight mode, you pull the rail system in really tight. You put your digital magazine much tighter. You put a smaller lightweight battery on, and you go to potentially a lightweight 16mm prime or zoom or a 35mm prime lens. And that's a good short, lightweight configuration to work. This is my favorite shot of all right now. So here she is, completely loaded up and ready. Viewfinder, high resolution LCD that rigs on this flexible mounting arm. So that's just one spot you could mount that LCD. You can take it and literally mount it to any of those surfaces where there are holes for mounting. That's part of the concept. So you set your balance point with the red rail system, depending on the lens that you're using, and you go and shoot. Now let's take a little bit a look at what Stuart was referring to in detail with red code and red cine. So first, red code. Red codes are a wavelet-based 10-bit next-gen compression engine, which gives us the ability to compress those huge 4K files that you guys saw to a very, very manageable size with no loss in visual quality. So it's how we get from that bigger number, which would take a refrigerator's worth of drives to move around, to that smaller number, which is our little digital magazine pack or our onboard flash. I don't know if I remembered, I might have missed the mentioning, there's an onboard flash module as well that's either 32 gig or 64 gig of super fast flash. That's actually right on the camera body itself for onboard recording. Might have missed that in the slides. So here's the idea. You shoot raw, there's your uncompressed, and at 24 frames it's that data rate. That's megabytes per second, not megabits, so that's the big ones, 323. And in camera, you compress it to red code. That's in real time. So that happens on camera as you're shooting. Same file size, same raw Bayer image. Now you're down under 30 megabytes a second, and that's how we're able to get it on that onboard flash or on that digital magazine. That's all at 24 frames a second.